Well, I watched a lot of shows on public access. Public access was a really fascinating thing at the time. And, let me give a little context because I think sometimes we don't really talk about the background or really think about where we were at one particular time when all this stuff happened. But, before there was Facebook, before social media of any kind, before Instagram or any of the constant, like, micro media that we're doing now, there was public access. And public access was not just like those things, it's all there was. There wasn't anything else. There wasn't any other way to send your mom a video of you or to find out what your Eritrean friends are doing because that's the only place there was. So it was definitely something that you had to look at. And what was different also about the 90s and what we don't remember very clearly is how we consumed even the media that was then differently. We used to surf. We used to channel surf. And at one time, public access was 1/29th of all programming. And the only thing that you watched was one of those 29 shows. And you scanned through every one of them. You looked at C-SPAN 1, you looked at C-SPAN 2, you looked at every one of them, and you also looked at access, which meant a lot of people were able to just be on and do something crazy. And you like, what the? And you stop and you look at that and you're like, what the hell was that? Did I just see that? I think that guy was naked. And it sure as hell he was naked. It wasn't like a sock puppet. It wasn't like blurred out. It wasn't like, when you saw your first ass on PBS. No, it was full frontal, right? And that was shocking. And there wasn't, again, very much like that was unfiltered, unvarnished, and was actually on the television of all places, right? I guess we could all go find magazines or, I guess there were bulletin boards. A lot of people probably weren't on those, versus like how they were watching Access. So I think it was cool both from a audience point of view, and I was definitely an audience member watching things like Reverend Bruce Howard and Political Playhouse and All You Can Stomach and lots of other shows.
I recorded 24/7, and then I just go from show to show. Some shows I watch 2.5 minutes, and some shows I just, marked down the time and recorded them from now on or went to work on them.
What's the first show you remember liking?
Political Playhouse.
Good answer.
I'm not actually DTN and Political Playhouse. I mean, I don't remember the first week. I've recorded every show for the whole week. And so I don't remember at this time was one on Tuesday and one on Thursday or what. But those were right away were the two. The first week I knew I was going to go volunteer on those shows if they'd take me, and I knew how to do some equipment. So, I had something to say on my resume to volunteer.
There was a program called Political Playhouse, and Philip Kraft started that. And he made sure that occasionally there would be full frontal male nudity on that, because if you don't exercise your right to your First Amendment right, then you don't know whether or not you have it, and it might go away. So I think that that's what was his motivation for that. And Seattle is a pretty liberal place. People didn't like it, but they got it. And when I say people, most of the audience got it. What that series did do, however, was that it introduced the concept that there could be racy, controversial programming on the channel, and that gave a couple of people the idea. They might not have even realized that that was the a possibility until Philip had his program. He had a well-produced program that had a good following, and it was, there are lots of good things going on with this program. It could be argued that it was an exemplar of community access at its best, because it really had a nice, sharp political edge to it. Senator Slate Gordon came in with some legislation right around the time that some cable bills were being authored in Washington, D.C., and they set forward a provision that either allowed or required cable companies to screen these types of programs. And I think it might even have been Philip's program that sparked that. And I can remember calling his office and saying, well, this is unconstitutional. And essentially they said, well, we know it's unconstitutional, but we're going to do it anyway. Why don't you work through your cable lobby if you have any objections to this? Well, the cable lobby was probably going to be in favor of it because the cable lobby has very little to do with public access.